History is distorted and twisted, so the truth will never be revealed to the masses, and whatever the victors write, it becomes history. Many kings have come and gone, and entire kingdoms rise and fall with them. Some are working towards honorable ambitions that helps the entire world, while others are working around the clock to see said world in ruins. But from history's point of view, all these royals and kings are the same, and the known differences between them fade as time and space goes by. However, sometimes history totally ignores specific events and people that influenced it heavily from days past. These deities are not even mentioned, and their names and deeds are forever forgotten in the annals of history. Many sacrifice everything to learn the truth, and on the other hand, some do everything to rewrite history so it becomes more compatible with their ideology, which further distorts the truth. One such deity is Gwyn's firstborn son, the God of War. His name erased and forgotten from history despite his deeds shaping the world around us. His mystery and mystique created fables and legends about him, and people tried for decades to pin down what really happened between the gods before they left Anor Londo. In the first installment of Dark Souls, we learned that Gwyn's firstborn son was the God of War, and that he had a dispute with his father that led to his eternal banishment from Anor Londo and even the annals of history itself. And it was specifically said that his name will forever be forgotten despite him playing a big role in shaping history. Now, does this make Gwyn a force of good or evil? Were his actions to banish his son from the annals of history noble? Did it bring prosperity to the world for withholding the truth by protecting it from it? Or was it to hide something that might show the gods in a bad light? Many died to answer these questions, and speculations and theories arise to fill the vacuum of that part of history, and even the most truly dedicated became hollow at some point. Thankfully, through the eyes of the unkindled Ashen One and his journey through Lothric, we discovered new information regarding the legendary Gwyn's firstborn son. In Dark Souls 3, we discovered things that nobody expected. This discovery shed new light on what really happened between the Lord of Cinder and his firstborn son. We learned that Gwyn's firstborn betrayed his father and joined the dragons during the big war between the gods and the ancient dragons. We encounter the firstborn in a shrine dedicated to dragons called Archdragon Peak, and he's riding a legendary storm drake, the Storm King, which is an epic sight even in the world of Dark Souls. His brilliant aura of lightning raining down from the sky to finish off the Unkindled One, but of course the will of the Unkindled One goes above and beyond anything we have seen before. And even his shown name, the Nameless King, shows that his name is no coincidence, as we learn later on in the game, and it is a brilliant way of presenting this menace of a boss. Also, if you compare his clothes to Gwyn, you can find that the breastplate, the bracelets, and the crown are indeed very similar to each other, which further proves that the Nameless King is indeed the firstborn. Now, there are a lot of speculations about his real name. Some say that his name was Sin, as evident by one of the locations in Dark Souls 1, Sin's Fortress. Now, you might be asking, what is the link between such a place and the Nameless King? Well, first and foremost, we have Andre of Astora, and he has dialogue about Sin's Fortress.
Sin's Fortress is an old proving grounds built by the ancient gods. It is the only route leading to the great Anor Londo.
Now, it seems like Andre lived a really long time, and it seems like he's the only person who remembers the name of the fortress, even though if it's the firstborn, his name was forgotten. It seems like he was actually there, and that's why he remembers the name. Also, if you notice that both Sin's Fortress and Archdragon Peak have the same enemies roaming them. And these are the Serpent Men, and serpents are said to be imperfect dragons. Their long necks symbolize snakes, which are the metaphor of betrayal, and sometimes a metaphor of rebirth and renewal, as they have the power to shed their old skin. Another fact that strengthens this theory is a spell that can be found in Sin's Fortress, and that is the Lightning Spear. It's a lesser version of the Great Lightning Spear, which is associated with the killing of dragons. And its description mentions the firstborn directly, and it says that he was the god of war, and that lightning is his weapon of choice in dragon slaying. We can also find the gold covetous serpent ring behind a wall, which can be accessed only by breaking it, which hints the possible sympathy the firstborn had for dragons. And if this was an intentional foreshadowing, it would show how much depth the developers add in their games, which is brilliant in many aspects. Also, there is a brilliant Reddit post in the description that explains it more in depth, so make sure you check out all the links in the description for more in-depth lore. Many aeons past, legends uttered the name of another god of war, and his name was Faram. If you notice, the Faram helm actually has a portrait of a knight slaying a dragon. Sounds familiar? In Dark Souls 3 we find a shield named the War God Wooden Shield, and a bizarre pattern is featured on it. The shield is the mark of a mad god, revered as a god of war in remote regions. Now this shield was also featured in Dark Souls 2 as the Lion Clan shield. The Lion Clan was a race of axe-wielding humanoid lions, and you find them pretty close to where you find Vengar, a Pharosan warrior whose place is where many knights hailed from, such as Shieldless Lothian. Also, both Lothian and Vengar are both linked with lightning, as Lothian was a dragon slayer as he wielded the dragon slayer crescent axe and he left to find the ancient dragon, and Vengar sells lightning based items and wears a helm that represents a lion. Don't forget that Ornstein is a lion knight, and he was the first knight to serve the Firstborn, and he left his duty of protecting Anor Londo to find their lost king. Now, this is total speculation, but there is a possibility that he met with the Firstborn, or at least heard of the new god of war that the Phorosans were worshipping. And perhaps he taught them the art of dragon slaying and thus giving them the theme of lions. Also, very interestingly, the description of the name engraved ring supports this theory heavily. There are countless vestiges of long-lost gods in the ruins of Drangleic, or perhaps they are the very same gods as ours, only known by different names. This strikes deep in correlation with the theory that Faram is indeed the Firstborn, as it says that they might be the same gods but different names, also with the addition of the Faram helm and the Lion Clan's warrior add up to it. Also, same as before, you can check the description for the original post of this theory. Now, why did the Firstborn betray his father? Well, the game doesn't mention anything about it, but there are a lot of theories about it. One is that before Gwyn and the other lords fought the ancient dragons, the world was in a stalemate. Nothing moved, nothing changed. Now, if you think about it, everything that is happening right now in the world of Dark Souls, the Dark Sign and Hollows, are all because of Gwyn resisting the course of nature and sacrificing himself to link the first flame and ushering the Age of Fire. Maybe, just maybe, Darkstalker Koth actually approached the Firstborn and told him of the truth and what would happen if the dragons are gone. This way he can take away a strong pawn from Gwyn and has a better chance of ushering the Age of Men, the Age of Dark. But seems like his plan failed and Gwyn won the war despite losing one of his best dragon slayers, and he ushered the Age of Fire, setting the events of Dark Souls in motion. Or maybe it was another reason. We know that crossbreeds like Yorshka and Priscilla exist, and as many speculate that they were created by Seath the Pale Drake, and some say that it was through Guinevere, the daughter of Lord Gwyn. But come on, how is it possible for a dragon to do it with a human? Putting jokes aside, I think it is possible that the deal between Seath and Gwyn was for him to experiment on a god subject, as gods are immortals in most legends, and the only thing Seath wanted was immortality. Maybe when the Firstborn learned of this, he left his father and betrayed him. Also, maybe Havel the Rock was also an ally of the Firstborn, as he also had a plan to kill the gods, as evidenced from the occult club hidden in his hideout in Anor Londo. We can also find his spell, the Great Magic Barrier, in Ash Lake, where the ancient dragon is located as well. Maybe the Firstborn and Havel actually met the dragon and felt sympathy for them. And this can also be backed with Dark Souls 3, as you get the Dragon Covenant items from Archdragon Peak, which is basically run by the Nameless King. So, in conclusion, we have multiple theories. That his name is Sin, as evidenced from the enemies and the items you find in Sin's Fortress. That he is the same person as Faram, as evidenced from the shield and the Faram Knights. Darkstalker Koth having a role in the Firstborn's betrayal. And a secret deal between Gwyn and Seath the Pale Drake, which might have caused the betrayal of the Firstborn. So now, after presenting the theories, what is the truth, you ask? Although speculation makes the lore very interesting, you can't but help to find the truth. Is the Firstborn a force of good or the force of evil? Is the world actually black and white? Is there a hero in the story? Now, let me tell you what I believe happened. The Firstborn, before he left his family and position, he left the Cellite Blade and the flowers on the tomb of the Great Lord in the Dark Moon Tomb. even though at that time Gwyn should be alive, so I think it is more of a symbolic and honorary tomb than an actual tomb. And it could be part of Gwendolyn's ruse to trick everyone about Anor Londo and not know that Gwyn actually linked the flame and caused the mess that we are in right now, and that he became a shadow of his former self. Once a slayer of dragons, the former king and god of war tamed a storm drake and they led a lifetime of battles. I think he kept wandering around the world, and around the time where Dark Souls 2 takes place, he either found it or went to Ferosa and the people worshipped him again as the god of war. Perhaps that's why we find Ornstein in Hade's Tower of Flame, as we know that he left his position in Anor Londo to look for his master. And his journey led him to the place where a lot of actions and things influenced the city, such as the Blue Sentinels, as we discover in Dark Souls 3 that the Dark Moon Knights are the original Blue Sentinels. And the architecture is very similar to Anor Londo as well. And some people say that Guinevere, when she left with the flame god Flan, she went to Hade's Tower of Flame and founded it. But Ornstein, on his way, the undead curse began to work its way upon him. But because of his strong will to find his king, he didn't succumb to the hollowing. Even though the darkness began to eat his soul away, he journeyed far until he found his king in Archdragon Peak. Now, his fate is currently unknown, but I like to think that he asked the Firstborn to put him out of his misery and that he still believes in the true God of War. I imagine it in a God of War 2 fashion.
I have faith that our brothers of Sparta will live on through the true God of War.
But what if things had gone differently? What if the great dragon slayer is still alive? Maybe we will find him soon enough in a place where no one would expect. Maybe we will encounter the primordial serpents whose actions shaped the world of Lordran, Drangleic and Lothric, all for a single purpose, to rid the world of the foolishness that the gods bestowed upon it. Perhaps that was the mistake that the Firstborn has done, a mistake that would cost him everything. Even if he wanted good or bad for the world, we have to respect his courage of facing his father's mistakes and doing what he thought was right. So I hope you all enjoyed this lore video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, and also make sure to watch my other lore video, which is the Mystery of Ocelot. There are many interesting stuff in it, and make sure to subscribe for more amazing Dark Souls 3 content. So I guess I'll see you later, unkindled ones. Bye bye.